Welcome to the Midwest Blitz. It's college football comfort food for the Midwest soul. Now, here are your hosts, Coach Drew and Big Nick.
Welcome to another edition of the Midwest Blitz with Coach Drew and Big Nick. Yeah, yup.
Yeah, yup. So before we get to the Big Ten review of the games from over the weekend, which is the meat and potatoes of the Midwest Blitz for those of you that are new, we're going to cover what the top 12 college football playoff teams did over the weekend, tell you who they play next week, and we're going to talk about a couple of G5 teams who we think still have a chance to make it into the college football playoff. And then after we go over our Big Ten review, we're going to hit you up with some MACtion gambling tips going into the Tuesday, Wednesday MACtion slate. We do have a pretty damn good game there on Tuesday. So as far as our college football playoff teams right now, the Ohio State Buckeyes beat Purdue handily over the weekend. Next week, they have UCLA. IU had to squeak one out at Penn State, but in electrifying fashion with the toe touch by Omar Cooper. If you haven't seen it, you've been living under a rock. Next week, IU plays Wisconsin. Texas A&M handled Missouri on the road big time. Missouri was without starting quarterback Bo Pribula, but a win's a win. They got South Carolina next week. Bama had a win against LSU. They play Oklahoma next. Georgia took care of business against Mississippi State Bulldogs. They got Texas next. Ole Miss had a real challenge with the Citadel, Coach Drew. There's some SEC scheduling for you. They've got Florida next week. BYU, who was undefeated, lost to conference rival Texas Tech. They have TCU next week. They were at 7. And Texas Tech obviously beat BYU. They play University of Central Florida next. Oregon went on the road to Iowa and won a thrilling but low-scoring game against the Hawkeyes. They're at 9. Notre Dame had a solid win against Navy, who was also without their starting quarterback. They have Pitt next week. Texas is on a bye. They play Georgia next. Oklahoma was on a bye, and they play Bama next, as we just mentioned. Coach Drew, what we got in the Big Ten?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Before we get to the Big Ten, did you say Ole Miss played the Boys and Girls Club as a charity?
The Boys and Girls Club flag football team was kind enough to give the Ole Miss Rebels, a non-con game in November. Man.
Yeah, don't forget, guys. Once we get to the off season, we'll be covering these interesting games they used to do in college football. But yeah, they still do it. They still sneak these games in there, even late in the season. And
you know what they say?
The toughest SEC scheduling of all time. The toughest.
You know what they say, Drew? In the SEC, it's just different. That's why he scheduled the Citadel in November.
Well, I think the Big Ten's pretty unique, and that's where we're heading right now. We're heading to a Coliseum where the Wildcats from the JV football field step into the Greek Coliseum. That's pretty cool.
Yes,
Nick,
sir.
take it away.
So the Northwestern Wildcats Friday night traveled to meet the USC Trojans. USC wins 38-17, so we won't spend too much time on this game, but the Wildcats had momentum and it was a tie game, 14-14. They almost went up 24-14 at the end of the second quarter. Defensive lineman for Northwestern picked it off. Looks like he's going to make a house call. And who comes in to save the day but Jaden Maiava, stud future NFL quarterback for USC. Drew's a Notre Dame fan. He tries to hate Jaden Maiava, but you just can't because he's so damn good. So this goes from being Northwestern up 21-14 to then Maiava getting the ball and leading the Trojans down the field to put the Trojans up 21-14. So you had a 14-point swing there. The Wildcats came out pretty strong, gave the Trojans some problems early, but I think that momentum change at the end of the first half for a road underdog, it kind of crushed their spirits, took the wind out of their sails. Maiava threw for 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the interception. Oh, you don't see a quarterback get this stat very often. Forced fumble for Maiava in the stat sheet. King Miller continues to be the best walk-on running back in America, not for long. He had 15 carries for $127. Lemon and Lane, the dynamic duo at wide receiver, 18 combined catches for 235 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's tough. I do want to give a shout out to Caleb Komalafe for Northwestern, though. He's got a chance to hit 1,000 yards rushing here in the last few games. He's at like 750 right now. He had 17 carries for 118 yards against the Trojan defense, which is very respectable. Trojans head to Iowa, I think they host Iowa next week. And Northwestern hosts number 21, Michigan.
That was a great game. I think for USC, I mean,
Yeah, I think so. We predicted that Northwestern would give them some problems, and in the first half, they were giving them problems. And Maiava takes chicken salad. He takes chicken you-know-what and turns it into chicken salad after throwing a pick to a defensive lineman. And, hustles, lays the pads on him. Big boy drops the ball into the end zone for a touchback. I've got a lot of respect for the Maiava kid, man. He's a baller. He's a straight baller. He's not like the kid for BYU who wears number 47 and runs like he's playing fullback. But when he has to lower his shoulder and get physical on a scramble, or in this case, forcing a fumble against a 300-pound defensive lineman, he does it, man. He's just a straight-up baller. I bet he's a good pickup basketball player. He probably shoots pool. He probably does it all, Jaden Maiava. I think that guy's going to be an NFL starter. I think he's legit as legit gets.
I mean, yeah, when you go to USC and play under Lincoln Riley, that's what happens. You become developed into a starting quarterback at the next level, similar to what we see with Caleb Williams, Spencer Rattler. The list goes on. Who's
that boy down in Tampa? Who's that boy down in Tampa? I think he played for.
Are you talking about Baker
Shake and Bake? Shake and Bake, Baker Mayfield.
Well, he's a dog too. I wasn't going to mention him because I wasn't sure when the cross-reference was, but no, he's definitely developed. He's a quarterback whisperer for sure.
Yeah,
he's definitely going to be places. And this game, guys, we have to remind you, this meant more for USC as they're 5-1 in conference. Northwestern was just playing for respect, which they got our respect, even with the big boy trying to make a play that Nick didn't favor, but I mean, it is what it is.
Northwestern's had a good year under first-year coach Braun, and I think that they're going to improve their value in the eyes of the fans and the betting public over the next couple of years. They might not win a national championship, but, their quarterback's improved a lot. Their defense has been pretty solid. I mean, they really held USC down in the first half. I think that the turnover that took a +7 into a -7 just crushed the Wildcats spirit. Tough one for the Wildcats, but Trojans roll. Trojans still very much alive for the college football playoff.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's another team that's alive for the college football playoffs that traveled to the not-so-happy Valley. They were hosting your Hoosiers, Nick. Do you want to go ahead and take it away?
So the Indiana Hoosiers walked into, guess what we could call a trap game now, except they escaped the trap. Hoosiers come out on top on a last-second touchdown, 27-24. Drew, they say sometimes the night is darkest just before the dawn. And as a fan of Indiana, that could not be more true in this example. Penn State comes down to take the lead late in the game. And, I felt my heart drop a little bit. My heart dropped into my stomach, as for all Hoosier fans, I'm sure it did. And then the first play of the drive to win the game, Fernando Mendoza gets sacked, and I'm thinking, Indiana is screwed right now, except they weren't. So Mendoza goes on to lead the Hoosiers on a spectacular 2-minute drill, and then you have one of the most spectacular game-winning plays you're going to see in the entire, not just this college football season, but ever on the toe tap coach. Catch by Omar Cooper. He's Drew in slow motion on the replay. He's looking down at his toes as he holds his one foot about an inch above a blade of grass and then taps the other one inbounds to score the touchdown. Just epic. Omar Cooper is an absolute dog. And I don't know if everyone realizes this if you didn't watch the game, but Elijah Surratt, All-American #1 wide receiver for Indiana, was out. And so Charlie Becker, who's been mostly a special teams player for the Hoosiers this year, comes in to kind of fill the role of the #1 receiver in this case. Elijah Surratt, the Waffle House, is open 24/7, and Charlie Becker may not be open 24/7, but he was open from noon to 3:30 on Saturday. He had 7 catches for, I think, 118 yards. Hey, you just got to be open when they need you, and Charlie Becker was, man. He also laid a Penn State defensive back out on a block one time. That kid is an absolute dog. Excited to have him in an Indiana uniform. Moore, Fisher, Reloja Hardy, D'Angelo Pons, and Hosea Wheeler all had great games for the Hoosiers on defense. There's too many guys to name, but it was a great team effort to get the win. Some people were critical of the defense, and Coach Drew, we talk about that here on the Midwest Blitz, that if your team is struggling, everybody wants to blame the defense. The offense had produced 3 points in the first 29 minutes of the second half in this ballgame. The struggles in this game were predicated on offensive failures, not defensive failures. Penn State has a lot of talent. Ethan Grunkmeyer, the freshman quarterback who's in now for Penn State since Drew Aller got injured, was really solid for Penn State. And, Penn State's defense had a great second half until that final drive. They did everything they could to win the game to the last 2 minutes, but I have to say this about the Penn State fans. The Penn State fans deserve so much credit for showing up, filling the stadium, and supporting their team. I didn't realize this till game day, but this was their first home game since James Franklin got fired, and they really showed up and showed why Penn State is a special place for college football. They supported their team to the very end, and I hope they continue to do so through the rest of the year. Again, Charlie Becker, special teams player for the most part, coming in and having over 100 yards and 7 catches, really saved the Hoosiers' ass in this one. Cooper came in clutch like Batman at the end, but Becker was Superman when they needed him throughout the day, and Mendoza was not afraid to throw him the ball. I mean, it was impressive, the depth they showed at receiver. Nowakowski, the tight end, also, I think he had 3 catches, one of them on that 2-minute drill to win, but everybody just stepped up for Indiana with Surratt out, and honestly, no offense to Mendoza at all, I think Elijah Surratt might be the best skill player on that offense, or the one that has tied it together. And Indiana figured out a way to pull it out without him today, because Surratt has been the guy that they go to in crunch time, even going back to last season. So huge win for the Hoosiers. Nick Singleton came out of a slumber. I thought like he's been a little slow lately. He had 10 carries for 71 yards. Denied Denny Sutton on the defensive line looked like the guy that I heard about preseason who was supposed to be an All-American. He was impactful in the pass rush. I think he had 4 or 5 tackles, but his presence was definitely felt. Too many guys to talk about, Drew. Aiden Fisher, 9 tackles, a fumble recovery, and an interception for Aiden Fisher. That's an All-American right there. He's got an NFL future. He reminds me of Micah McFadden, who has started a lot for the New York Giants over the last few years. I think Fisher's cut from that same cloth. He's got NFL in his future, man. Ultimate team captain, ultimate warrior at linebacker. And, of course, Mendoza, the gunslinger when you need him, dude. This Indiana team handles adversity, and even though people think they should have won this game by more, how do you criticize a team that bounces back whenever they hit a bump in the road the way the Hoosiers do right now? Even Kurt Signetti was happy after the game, if that tells you how impressive it was. That guy never smiles.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things you were alluding to was that, it was a trap game. As Admiral Akbar would say, it's a trap.
It's a trap.
Star Wars reference, because we know we love Star Wars references on the Midwest Blitz. But again, this was a classic trap game. You had a lot of defensive players on Penn State who really wanted to show NFL scouts who actually were there, even though the number 2 team is going against an unranked team. There was a bunch of scouts there, and they knew it. They had to play their asses off. I would take anybody from that Penn State that was All-Americans, preseason All-Americans that we talked about before the downfall. I would take them on the Bears. They were also there for the Hoosiers, who also I would love to have Pond or Fisher in the Bears uniform. I would love to see that, honestly. So, again, IU took care of business. They survived. Now they have Wisconsin and Purdue in that order, correct? That's it?
Yes, sir. Yes,
so they
sir.
definitely control their destiny, as those two are going to be trap games back-to-back. One being Wisconsin, who just took out Washington, which we'll talk about sooner than later, and also Purdue, which is an in-state, which I don't know if Purdue is going to want to try to... Well, we'll get to that later. Actually, later as in...
Right now.
All right, I guess right now. Yep. Go ahead, Nick.
The Ohio State Buckeyes, the number 1 team in all the land, traveled to take on the Purdue Boilermakers and won the game 34-10, did Ohio State. No Carnell Tate, no problem. Jeremiah Smith, 10 catches for $137. He had the one tippy-toe catch on the sideline, Coach Drew, where he just goes ahead and gets 2 toes on the ground just because he's practicing for Sunday, because that's where he belongs right now. Unfortunately, the Big Ten and the rest of college football will have to deal with him for another year because he's only a true sophomore right now. But that guy just looks like a thoroughbred NFL wide receiver, not just because of physical ability, but the skill, the footwork. He put on a route running clinic against Purdue the other day. He was dunking on these poor Purdue defensive backs so often that, there was just nothing they could do. Respectable effort on their part, but this guy's just a next level football player. And with Carnell Tate out, got him a few extra targets, and chance to show off, basically. Ohio State had a running back by committee approach, 170 total yards on the ground. Donaldson, who has really emerged, and I thought this might happen at the beginning of the year, C.J. Donaldson is kind of like their short yardage and goal line back who you can really trust to get you 2 or 3 yards when you really need them, which is a different skill set than somebody who's a perimeter runner or somebody who's trying to break a long one. We'll get into that on another one. Even Lincoln Keenholz, the backup quarterback, who I've been told is a good runner, kind of got in on a semi-Wildcat package and had a goal line touchdown run. So good for Lincoln Keenholz that he got to play a little bit, got a tud. The Buckeyes defense allowed 186 yards of total offense, less than 100 passing and less than 100 rushing. Caleb Downs and Jermaine Matthews ran the old tip drill that all you guys that play football are familiar with, where I don't know if Downs had a chance to pick it off, but he kind of does a volleyball set, pops it up for Matthews. Matthews gets an interception, gets in the stat sheet. That's what a good guy Caleb Downs really is. Peyton Pierce led all tacklers with 7, and Sonny Styles had 5 tackles, the old reliable. Manny Powell from Purdue, a Columbus, Ohio native, had 13 tackles for the Boilermakers. He put on a show for the team that he probably grew up rooting for, and Breon Ishmael for Purdue had 7 tackles and a sack. Next up, Ohio State hosts UCLA, and Purdue plays Washington, who had a rough weekend. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, that's true. Well, this team also had a rough weekend, as this was our featured eliminator game. If you guys liked our thumbnail, let me know, because that's the one we're using for all eliminator games. Just little tweaks, I heard some feedback, but I thought that was pretty cool. It was like kind of like some Smash Bros, maybe Mortal Kombat, maybe
sick.
A little bit of Stranger Things color combo I was trying to work with here. So let us know. But Nick's going to tell you about the Oregon-Iowa game, and I'm also going to let you know too as well.
So the Big Ten game of the week and the biggest or most predictable college football playoff eliminator game happened in Iowa City as the number 9 Oregon Ducks took on the number 20 Hawkeyes. Oregon wins 18-16. That's the score we expected, 18-16, 15-12, something like that. That's what we got. This is a heartbreaking loss for the Hawks and their fans who, again, showed up in inclement weather and really showed out for them. But a massive road win over a ranked opponent for the Ducks. So we talked about how coming into this game, the perception of Oregon is more flash and athleticism. The perception of Iowa is more ground and pound, old school, block and tackle. And we talked about how Oregon really, under Coach Dan Lanning, is more of a smash mouth team at heart. And that I thought they had that in them. I knew this was going to be a close game. I didn't dare bet it with a 10-foot pole. But the Ducks kind of beat Iowa at their own game. Rushing yards, Oregon 261, Iowa 101. And the biggest special teams play in the game, special teams being the area that Iowa needed to capitalize on here. And I'm not saying that their special teams were bad as a whole, but the biggest special teams play this game was Iowa's long snapper snapping it over the punter's head, and it ends up being a safety, and the final score is a 2-point differential. So you lose by 2, and your special teams cost you the 2 points. Obviously, Oregon had to go down and kick a field goal at the end to win it, but that's what special teams can't do to you. Special teams can't cost you points, and special teams can't result in turnovers or adverse field position, and unfortunately for the Hawkeyes, they did not win the special teams battle today. Gronowski for Iowa, passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown. They lined up 5 wide and gave him kind of a run or pass option in a 5 wide set, which was the go-ahead touchdown for Iowa at the end. This was an awesome football game, Coach Drew, to watch. He rushes for the go-ahead fourth quarter touchdown. Comment about Iowa's offense. We said that we wanted Caden Wheatgen to get more touches than his average, which was between 5 and 6 a game, not counting kick and punt returns. He had 3 touches in this game. So I don't know if that's because Oregon took him away or Iowa just wasn't creative enough trying to give him the ball. Noah Whittington who was allegedly supposed to lose his job coming into this season. He was the returning leading rusher for the Ducks from last year. He had 17 carries for $118. To me, he might be the player of the game for Oregon. That's a great performance. His offensive line deserves a ton of credit. They had gotten an MO as being more of a pass-blocking offensive line, especially after the loss to Indiana, although they struggled in pass protection in that game. But they were not opening up holes to the degree that people thought they would with the talent that they had, and they really did in this game. I mean, 261 net rushing yards against this Iowa defense it's damned impressive, Coach Drew. This Iowa defense is not easy to run the ball against. On the other side of the ball, Jerry Mixon had 13 tackles for the Ducks. Bryce Betcher, 8 tackles, a sack, no home runs, no stolen bases today. We're playing football, not baseball, but Betcher might be playing for the Astros before you know it. Tuoti, the linebacker for Oregon, had 9 tackles and a sack. He's a dog that we haven't talked about enough this year. Dog. Sherar, 10 tackles for Iowa at linebacker. Max Llewellyn, 5 tackles on the defensive line. Ethan Herkett had some plays that he made also. This was a defensive kind of smash-mouth football game. But I hope that Dan Lanning and the Ducks get the respect they deserve for winning this game in the fashion that they won it, considering how banged up their wide receivers were. We know their number one guy hurt his knee in July. And then they had a true freshman, De'Corian Moore, who had 0 catches in this game. I'm not sure if he got injured in the middle of this game or not, Coach Drew. I didn't look that up before we started. And their All-American tight end was also hurt. So Dante Moore had to, again, make chicken salad out of chicken you-know-what. He was 13 out of 21 with 112 yards and interception, but he did lead him down the field to get that game-winning field goal. Had some key QB-designed runs in the second half. This was a hell of a football game. It just sucks that Iowa, they just got the acknowledgement they deserved at getting ranked, and they're probably bounced out of it already. But I told you guys here on the Midwest Blitz, if you've been watching, that this Iowa team has been playing their best ball, but their schedule down the stretch is a bitch. This is not an easy end-of-season schedule for the Iowa Hawkeyes, or the Oregon Ducks for that matter. Oregon has Minnesota next, but they still have Washington and I believe USC on the slate. Don't shoot me if I'm wrong about that USC thing. That's off the top of my head. I know they play Minnesota next, but the Hawkeyes travel to meet the Trojans next week, Coach Drew. What do you think?
Yeah, so, I mean, it was a rainy day in Iowa City. Master Splinter against Shredder, right, as we previously discussed. One of the things that I didn't realize was I didn't think it was going to be this close. I thought one team, for whatever reason, was going to pull away and just move ahead. And yeah, it was kind of weird. It was like a baseball stat. It was 2-0 at the bottom of the first.
Right.
And I think it was a punt play that was kind of interesting. He took 2 instead of like 7, and it was just interesting play of how they got there with that play. So, there's a lot of thinking. A lot of these teams are really coached well. I thought, honestly, when Iowa did that last drive to march down the field, last drive for Iowa's offense, I was really impressed. And I was like, dang, they're actually going to pull this off. What is Dan Lanning going to do? And then probably the smallest of holes. Dante Moore fits a rope to his wide receivers to get in field goal range. I'm like, what? And then I'm like thinking it's raining and they're going to miss it. And then I remember it was actually funny. One of the announcers was like, if you can't kick footballs in the rain, you're not going to Oregon as a kicker. And I was like, boys, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm just feeling it. I'm like, dang, that was so tough. And I feel bad for KF. We were talking about this in the chat. Oregon had a timeout. They took it, right? And then we were talking about like this timeout issue. But it's one of those things where, like, I don't know if they would have called 5 straight timeouts. That kicker was golden, right? And we talk about the different rules in the NFL and in the NCAA. But that just goes, look, we explain sometimes when I'm watching football too, like a first down in college football, you stop the clock. In the NFL, it's a running clock, right? So if you're not paying attention, those are little things you're going to miss throughout the game. But I enjoyed it. Iowa, you have nothing to worry about. I do feel bad for Gronkowski. He's 6 years too late. I'd be interested to see if he even gets drafted. I definitely see him as a practice squad right now.
I agree with that.
He's won championships. He does have that pedigree. Maybe something changes. But that's for another segment. We can head over to the jump around.
I
if you
think
like, or you want to mention
Gronowski,
something.
before we move on real quick, I think Gronowski might have a future to switch positions and play a different spot. Because if you've watched him as much as I have, he's a really strong kid and he's a good athlete. I think that he might be able to play a different spot besides quarterback. And I'm not saying that he won't get tryouts at quarterback, but yeah, I do think Gronowski has a chance in the NFL at some position. I could see him playing strong safety. I don't know.
Really?
We'll see. Yeah. They used to do that all the time. They used to take quarterbacks and convert them to safety. It's like guys that were good runners that were physical like him. But we travel to the jump around in Wisconsin where the Washington Huskies went to lay an egg for the Badgers of Wisconsin. Wisconsin wins this game 13-10. I'm shaking my head because Washington cost me some money here, but I'm really happy for you Badger fans and for Luke Fickell. Holy smokes, get that monkey off your back. So my message to the Washington Huskies, this is why we can't have nice things. You weren't ranked all year, and then as soon as you get ranked, you come in here and give us this performance. I mean, if I was a Washington fan, I'm not even going to bother. I mean, I could say whatever I want. It's not like we're censored. I'm not even going to tell you what I would say besides what the hell just happened here. Wisconsin had, Drew, 4 players in this game attempt a pass for a combined 6 of 18. That's including punter Sean West, who completed a pass on a fake punt deep in Wisconsin territory. Ballsy move for Fickell. I guess he figured, what do they have to lose? They are on such a losing streak. But
Besides his job.
Let's take out the punter. They're 5 of 17 passing and win this game. Coleman, the running back for Washington, I think he only had 2 or 3 carries in this game. I don't have that stat right in front of me. He must have been banged up coming in or got tweaked something once the game started. But there's just no excuse for this Washington team, who was very much in CFP contention, to come in here and lose a game where the other team is playing a freshman 3rd or 4th string quarterback. That kid, by the way, Carter Smith, I think is his name. He made some plays in the running game and had a lot of enthusiasm. I like that kid. So we're not dogging on anybody for Wisconsin right now. This is another one, Drew, where the fans at Camp Randall, just like the fans at Happy Valley, really showed up to support their team. They rushed the field at the end, I feel, in a show of support for the players who came out and won one for them. And I really thought that was fun to watch. Washington, though, my goodness. I mean, what do you say when you look in the mirror after that game? I'm not going to stat you to death. It's humiliating that Washington goes in there mostly healthy and loses this game. Inexcusable.
Yeah, did you say they stormed the field?
At least some of the students stormed the field after they won, because they were just happy to see a win. And I felt when I was watching the clip as the students were rushing the field that they were happy for the players, because I think that those are guys you go to class with. And that Wisconsin team, especially that defense, which won them this game, by the way, you win 13-10, your defense won you that game. They know these guys are busting their ass in the weight room. They know they're disappointed, that fans are disappointed in them and all this. I thought it was cool that the students came out and got a little hype that they got, I think, their first Big Ten win of the season with nothing on the line except pride. But if nothing else, as an IU fan, I know over the years there were times where IU was not winning very much, but if they squeaked one out at home when they were on a losing streak, at least you knew they came out and played hard after you bought a ticket to come out and watch them. I kind of appreciated that scene for Wisconsin. That might be a little bit of nerd ball for you guys. That might be a little too much, but I like to see the connection between the fans, especially the students and the student athletes. I think it's fun to see.
Well, yeah, I was just going to remind everybody in America that the Big Ten doesn't fine anybody for storming the field. So go at it. Have fun. That's what I was going with it. That was more like a rhetorical, but I love the heartfelt message. Don't forget, guys, if you guys want to hear Big Nick's poetic poems, that'll be selling on Amazon after the season, as he gives some pretty powerful quotes throughout the season and some high emotions. And we love that.
Football poems that don't rhyme with Big Nick from the Midwest Blitz. Sold to no one.
He's a big fan of
Amazon.
Dr. Seuss, we heard.
I am a big fan of Dr. Seuss. What's wrong with Dr. Seuss, Drew?
Oh, you know.
Well, in this next game, there was no Dr. Seuss, but there was some Mickey Mouse Clubhouse as Maryland traveled to Rutgers and lost 35-20. Here's another one where you go, Okay, Drew, if you told me Maryland was going to run for 305 yards, they're averaging less than 105 yards rushing on the year, I think. That might be an exaggeration. Don't shoot me in the comments. But Maryland hasn't run the ball worth a damn all year. You had this promising freshman quarterback, Malik Washington, who's kind of had to carry the load offensively, and a defense that have been very reliable this year. If you told me they were going to run for 305 yards and lose, I would have called bullshit. And I would have been wrong. Malik Washington might have had his worst game of the year. I'm not putting it all on him. He ran for, I think, 100-some yards, which was probably him running for his life, most of it. You know who's overlooked? Who's one of the most overlooked? Actually, Rutgers has two of the most overlooked players in the Big Ten, Coach Drew. Ethan Kaliakmanis, who's been pretty much a baller all year at quarterback for Rutgers. 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 230 yards. He's put up big numbers most of the year. They got Ian Strong back off the injury list, who's probably the most over or underrated player. We got another one here, though. Ian Strong, 5 catches, 188 yards, and not one, not two, not one, not two, 3 touchdowns for Ian Strong, who's definitely going to make my all-Midwest Blitz team at wide receiver for this Rutgers team. But what you know about Raymond, Drew? Everybody loves Raymond in New Jersey right now, and I'm talking about Antoine Raymond. Antoine Raymond, 40 carries for 240 yards. That's a grown-ass man stat line, Coach Drew. Antoine Raymond said, throw the ball if you want, but just throw the rest of the load on my back, and I'm going to carry you to victory in this one. 240 yards on 40 carries for Antoine Raymond. Sounds like a 1980s Big Ten tailback stat line, and I fucking love it, Coach Drew. What a dog. Eric O'Neal on defense for Rutgers, 10 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, also a dog. Maryland licking their wounds right now. I really felt like Maryland showed a lot of promise against Indiana and had showed promise all year. I really have to say right now that there is a coaching staff problem, and I don't think it's an X's and O's problem. I don't know what it is, but there's either a lack of team unity or something with this Maryland team where they just can't quite get over the hump. This was, I think, they either started a 1.5 underdog or a 1.5 point favorite, and then the line shifted a 1.5. And I thought Rutgers defense has struggled all year. I thought Maryland was primed to get a win here, and I was wrong, Coach Drew. I was wrong several times this weekend.
Yeah, it was all kind of like smoke and mirrors what we're looking at. Maryland's 1-5 in the Big Ten, and it's just one of those things where we're, again, looking at the hump. We're like, this Maryland team's playing great defense. They're doing things offensively. Who knows, what could happen?
Right.
And they go to Rutgers, and Rutgers is like, we invented this game. We know how to play it. Let's show you guys.
The birthplace.
And they did. The birthplace of college football.
Piscataway,
I mean, good for
New Jersey. I hear Piscataway is beautiful this time of year.
Oh, I'm sure it is. And I'm sure it has the ghost of years past. I can't wait for Rutgers to just figure out the NIL money, kind of like Fry did when he was in Futurama. And he's like, oh, that's my old bank over there. And he goes over there and they're like, oh, this is how much money you have. Wait till they figure out Rutgers invented football. And they're like, oh, here's all this NIL money you can have.
They've been collecting interest since 1884 or whatever. Let's go to UCLA, Coach Drew. So the Nebraska Cornhuskers, this is another game I was dead ass wrong on. If you guys are keeping score, I don't know who's keeping score, Coach Drew. I hope nobody after my gambling picks over the weekend. Nebraska travels to UCLA with their backup freshman quarterback and wins 28-21. I take back what I said. I did not say him by name when I criticized him. I'm going to say him by name now. TJ Lateef was a dog. 13 out of 15, 205. 3 touchdowns, Coach Drew. Now, he owes Emmet Johnson a corn cob sandwich for one of those because it was like a 60-yard running back screen that he took to the house. Great downfield blocking by the Nebraska offensive line on that one. But the player of the game here is Emmet Johnson, 28 carries for $129. Just another Emmet Johnson game. He busted USC's ass last time out too, but because of the quarterback injury and Lateef probably wasn't getting any reps with the starters, he came into the game not quite prepared, but they had a good game plan for Lateef. And a big part of that game plan is we're going to ride Emmet Johnson like the thoroughbred running back that he is, dude. That guy's going to be an NFL starter. He's going to be a great NFL running back. Emmet Johnson didn't just have 129 rushing yards, 3 receptions for 103 yards, most of which on the screen pass that I just talked about. What a badass. Nebraska played inspired football with their starting quarterback out, and I really feel like if they can continue to play that way, they might have a chance to get a New Year's Day bowl game. They're out of college football playoff contention now, but I think with Matt Rule signing the contract extension and you get a freshman quarterback who knows if he stays, if he goes, whatever, they're developing talent. Nico for UCLA, by the way, had about 180 total yards and 2 touchdowns, and they need some running backs to emerge or some improvement in the offensive line if they're going to capitalize on him being there, assuming that he is there next year. But pretty tough to run offense when all your main rushing threat is the quarterback all the time. That's just not going to work in modern college football. Deshaun Singleton, 11 tackles for the Cornhuskers at safety. But yeah, I think Nebraska winning with Raiola out, I think it would be great for them to get a big-time bowl game. I think they could.
Yeah, I mean, okay, Nebraska, if you look at it, I mean, we talked about Johnson. I mean, he's a stud. He's going to be a good running back at the next level. We thought,
Yeah.
well, because the quarterback situation, UCLA should just handle this easily. Well, not so fast, my folks. There's once a week, and it was this week, where it's like everything if you say up, it was down. If you say positive, it was negative. I mean, I get it. Vegas knows, and we know, but I don't think I think Vegas lost money this weekend. Honestly,
There's no way Vegas
who bet against.
There's no way Vegas knew all this shit was going to happen. I mean, this was a pretty
that's why they win.
Pretty wild weekend of college football, Coach Drew. This feels like the beginning of a MACtion, a Tuesday, Wednesday MACtion preview. Is that what this feels like, Coach Drew?
It feels like we're heading over to some MACtion. I think I had a 4 for $4 Wendy's burger on Tuesday, Wednesday MACtion. Now, I was going to go for a 5 for $5 Biggie bag, but I kind of resilient on it. And the reason why is because that damn cat messed me up. But we can cover the first 4 first. Let's get into that. Let's get into some MACtion, Nick.
Let's go.
Which one do you want to go with first? You want to go with Massachusetts, the original Benedict Arnold?
Let's skim over Kent State at Akron. You got any picks on that one? That's a Tuesday, 7:30 on ESPNU.
Oh, you want to do the preview? Oh, my bad. Excuse me. I thought you wanted to recap it first and then move over to the preview.
Now let's go to the preview.
I got you. Adjust. Audible. Even on the Midwest Blitz, sometimes we got to call audibles.
Absolutely. A lot's happened since last Tuesday and Wednesday, so I don't want to pull anybody too far into the Wayback Machine, but let's do some Tuesday, Wednesday MACtion preview right now. You got any picks for Kent State Akron? It's okay if you don't.
Yeah, I'm looking at Akron to cover at home. They're a solid team. Kent State's been, some of the kids might say 6-7 on the season.
8-9.
We'll 8-9. Work a 9 to 5. I think they can cover the -5.5 at home. I mean, that's a touchdown or 2 field goals. Right. I think they're going to do it. A lot of these teams that have to travel real early, I'm noticing a trend. I picked the 4 home teams, and you guys, I even told you, well, that might not work. Well, let me tell you, 4 for 4. Check it out. I got it from Wendy's. I hit that too. Had some pirate booty going.
Sorry, Coach Drew. I didn't want to skim over your gambling success last week in order to cover my own inadequacies, because I went not 4 for 4 last week on anything. But what do you got on? I'm excited about this Ohio Bobcats versus Western Michigan Broncos game. Western Michigan's 5-4 overall, 4-1 in the MAC. Western Michigan had a tough non-conference slate where they kind of struggled, but they really got their legs under them as soon as conference play started, the Mid-American. And the Bobcats have our favorite MAC player, Parker Navarro, at quarterback, who's a very solid dual-threat quarterback. 12 touchdowns, 8 interceptions on the year. He's kind of a gunslinger, but he can run it, man. They're 6-3, 4-1 in the MAC. What do you think about that one, Coach Drew?
They're 4-1, heading to another 4-1 team. This is some true MACtion. I got Ohio covering. Park Navarro's a dog. The running back's a dog. I just see them running over these Broncos until they get my buddy Frankie Verdi from Lake Central.
Can I give some love? I'm going to give some love to a couple of Ohio Bobcat players. We've talked about Navarro a lot. C.A. Bangura, the running back for Ohio, had he probably had the second best kick return of the year. The best kick return of the year was Jadarian Price against USC. Me and Coach Drew saw that one live from the north end zone. C.A. Bangura is going to play in the NFL. He's got 830 rushing yards. I don't have his kick return yards pulled up, but he breaks the tackle last week in the MAC game against Miami, Ohio, like a running back, but still has the strength and the explosion to kick it on and run the thing back for a touchdown. C.A. Bangura, I'm going to say, is the most overlooked player in the MAC. And then Chase Hendricks, the wide receiver for Ohio, who's really been Navarro's go-to guy. 60 catches, 6 touchdowns, 845 receiving yards this year. There's some real potential NFL players that are the stars of this Bobcat football team, and that's why me and Drew have enjoyed watching them so much this year. But not to overlook the Western Michigan Broncos, who might have a little less flash, but their defense has been good this year. I think that's going to be a fun game, Drew. I really do.
No, it's going to be definitely a fun game at 7 p.m. 2, not the Ocho, but ESPN 2.
Dos.
You guys better turn it on. It's going to be at Waldo Stadium. I think that's a pretty cool name. Got to find out why it's called Waldo. I don't want to make fun of it, but I do like it, as you laugh. Do you want to head over to Wednesday, where we got our favorite Buffalo team playing against Central Michigan in another good close combat game of MACtion?
Are the Buffalo Bulls going to pull out? The 5-4 overall Buffalo Bulls going to pull out yours and my preseason prediction that they're going to win the MAC this year? Well, they're going to have to take down the Central Michigan Chippewas to do so. Coach Drew, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, so you got Buffaloes and you got Rob Roberson, the quarterback, who's just
Dog.
I mean, he's at 1739, I believe, in yards. I think he also can eclipse 2K this upcoming day. Action games are usually high-scoring games, and I think the Bills can come into Central Michigan and do some things. I will say Central Michigan did surprise me earlier. I thought they're going to be doing a lot better, but 3-2 is not the worst. This game is going to be interesting. I actually have Central Michigan. No, because I want Buffalo to win. This is where it gets interesting. Hold on. Crisscross applesauce. Relax, everybody.
So the ESPN matchup predictor has Central Michigan a 58.5% favorite to win this game, which it is at Central Michigan, right, Drew? So I don't know. 58% seems heavy to me. This Buffalo defense has kind of found their legs as the seasons went along. I believe they had 9 returning starters and I think 6 preseason all-conference defenders, including George Wolo at defensive tackle. Oh, and Red Murdoch, one of the most fun players in college football, has 105 tackles for the Bulls right now and 4.5 sacks. Red Murdoch's got that dog moniker. I don't want to beat that to death too much, but he is a really fun player to watch. Roberson is like the consummate veteran quarterback right now for Buffalo, putting up decent numbers. He's not lighting the world on fire with his numbers, but he's executed better and better as the years went along. And then Al-Jay Henderson, who made my preseason All-Midwest Blitz team at running back, has 663 yards rushing so far. The Buffalo Bulls being a 41% chance, according to the matchup predictor on ESPN, seems like a joke to me. That does not seem right. I know that's some real professional analysis, but I mean, are you telling me that the home field advantage at Central Michigan is so good that it's going to overwhelm the superior talent of Buffalo? Central Michigan's given 2.5 on ESPN bet right now. Over under totals 44.
Yeah, I'm looking at Central Michigan. There was a game that Central Michigan played, and I was really shocked. They came back in that game. That's probably why they're getting that. Give me 1 second.
I'm going to take the Buffalo Bulls plus 2.5 in this game. I think with their defense and superior talent on both sides of the ball, I don't know. I just don't like it the other way around. I've been rolling. Yeah, we rolled with Buffalo all year so far, and I think that they've been hitting their stride lately. I think they started a little slower than we wanted them to. That's my pick on this one. I got Buffalo with the points.
Yeah, I'm going to roll Buffalo too with the points. I mean, Central Michigan played against San Jose State and came back and covered for it, but they only won 16-14. I was trying to remember. They got beat by Pitts. They got pipped by Michigan. Well, they actually beat Wagner. Yeah, they beat Eastern Michigan. That was the big Michigan game right there. But yeah, they should they should lose. I think Buffalo's going to win this one. I'm with you on that one. Do you want to head over to Benedict Arnold versus former Benedict Arnold? And probably one of the lower matchups, actually the lowest matchup of the MACtion.
Yeah, let's try and breeze through this one. Northern Illinois visits UMass. Northern Illinois is dead to us, as we have described earlier in the season, because they are leaving the MAC to go to the Mountain West. We're just not a fan of that because we support MAC football here on the Midwest Blitz. Northern Illinois is a 72 or 78.2% favorite according to the ESPN matchup predictor in this game. Coach Drew, you got a pick on this one?
Yeah, I'm going to take Northern Illinois. UMass is just coming back to the MAC, even though Northern Illinois is on its way out. I just don't think UMass can compete with Northern Illinois. I think Northern Illinois is going to have a great game.
Well, UMass hasn't competed with anybody all year, Drew, so that's probably a pretty good pick. Minus 10.5 on the road? Yeah, I'll take it. Now, this next game, this might be I like the Ohio Western Michigan game. This Toledo Miami Ohio game, though, this could be a gangbusters game, honestly. On ESPN 7 p.m.
Yeah, you're gonna have to box it because you got Buffalo, Central Michigan, and Toledo, Miami, Ohio. The War Room's gonna have multiple TVs going. I was hoping one was 6 and one was 8, but that wouldn't make sense. But yeah, you got Toledo going on to Miami, Ohio. Now, Miami, Ohio just lost to Ohio in a big rivalry game, which we heard some interesting words from the fans during that game, and I told Big Nick about it. And I just love how the announcer was like, "This is a heated rival." Yeah, no diddly squat. Like, you got two big teams. Toledo's going to come in here, and Toledo's like, they were our second favorite behind Buffalo. They have 2 losses. If they beat Miami, Ohio, right, and somehow Buffalo loses, right, and Ohio wins over Western Michigan, I mean, this thing's going to be wide open, which we would love.
SEC ESPN has Toledo as a 63% chance to win this game. I think these conference games, though, late in the season, as we saw in the Big Ten, Coach Drew, over the weekend, at this point in the year, you've got a lot more game film on people, and some of the teams that have performed poorly have changed, not in this game necessarily, but you've changed starting quarterbacks, or you've switched your lineup around, or you've swapped out a game plan that wasn't working for one that you think is ready to beat a conference rival that you're really prepared for. These games come down to the wire. They are hard to pick, but I just don't see the 60-something% chance of winning. I don't know. These are almost like coin flip games, these unpredictable MACtion games on Tuesday, Wednesday, that's why we love them so much. Plus the opportunity to watch college football and gamble on a Wednesday night.
If you have $20 to spare, go to your local MAC school and watch this game. You're going to have a great time. You might see a family opossum juggle balls. Yep. I can't tell you, Harry Potter might be there. MACtion is fun. Enjoy it. That's my PSA.
It's the charm.
Not sponsored by Mac.
The charm of mid-major college football is half the audience yawns and maybe turns the show off. The charm of mid-major college football, if you're a big-time football fan and getting to watch these rivalry games on weeknights, is really fun.
We have one more game to cover from MACtion, and that's on a Saturday as a local school down the street from Nick, if he could spare $12. He can go watch Ball State play against Eastern Michigan.
Yes, my beloved Ball State Cardinals, my dad was a Ball State alum, are a slight underdog to Eastern Michigan in this one, Coach Drew. I'll tell you who's fun to watch just from an athletic standpoint is Kyle Kelly, the dual threat quarterback for Ball State. He's got a wicked change of direction. He'll hit you with a dead leg, a stanky leg, any kind of leg, and he'll cut between defenders behind blockers. He's got like some Neo from the Matrix type of sixth sense going on sometimes when he takes off scrambling. He's fun to watch. Ashley, their running back, Quay Ashley, has had a pretty good year for the Cardinals also.
I think Ball State is one of my favorite schools to talk about, not only because of being there, being at the dive bars,
the Chug,
people that's going there, the Chug. It's a great place. One of the things I want to mention about Ball State is they're always going against SEC schools, and they take care of business. You know, one thing I know that's taken care of at Ball State is their athletic department. It's always paid for because Ball State knows what they do. and I'm always thinking about NIL deals. You know what? When I'm down there in a few weeks, we might just have to go to the Chug so I can get some NIL money to the next future Ball State players. Because, damn, I want this team to be great. They have a great logo. We were talking about it.
Their
Ball
helmets
State,
are clean,
low-key,
dude. Yeah, their uniforms are
is.
pretty clean overall.
They are. I mean, Eastern Michigan, yeah, they have an interesting name and character on their team, and they also have gray fields. But you know, they don't have the Chug.
They don't
The
have
Chug, one of the best dive bars, all right? If the cue ball is chirped and chipped, right? See, I did it, chirped and chipped, right? And if you can get lemonade vodkas for less than $3
Chirp.
in a dirty cup, sign me up. That should sound, I almost wanted to stand up and put my hand over my heart. That was beautiful.
I'm a little older than you, Coach Drew. I retired my dive bar Muncie drinking a while back, but I've got some stripes on my jacket from the old days. Go Cardinals.
Big Nick's a vet.
Yeah, no doubt. This feels like the beginning of a Midwest goodbye, Drew.
Yes, let's head over to the Midwest goodbye. Well, this is the part of the Midwest Blitz where we like to say goodbye to everybody. But there's a snowstorm out where Nick is, and there's a snowstorm coming where I am, where I'll have a virtual day for school. While we're just hanging out here and talking college football, I'm going to give you my list of college football playoffs first, and then Nick will give you, do you got your prediction with you? If not, this is Midwest Goodbye, so it's kind of unscripted.
Are we talking G5, Coach Drew?
Yeah, you can do the G5, and then I can give you my full 12 of what I think is going to happen, since I got 11 out of 12 on my homework assignment for teams in on the play one.
Yeah, Coach Drew's homemade algorithm was pretty accurate as far as the first college football playoff rankings that came out last Tuesday. I'm looking at my big board over here that you guys might have seen on some of the YouTube and TikTok shorts. My eye test of football, I am not the mathlete here on the podcast, if you guys haven't figured that out. I think that we're going to get either JMU out of the Sun Belt, or we're going to get North Texas, Tulane, or South Florida, which one of those teams will end up being the American Conference champion. I think your group of 5 team is going to come out of those 4 teams. I think JMU has a chance to run the table. The American Conference would be perceived as the stronger conference. JMU has 1 loss to Louisville right now, which is a very quality loss for a G5 team. Louisville still being a ranked team. I think one of those 4 is going to be your group of 5 team. Coach Drew, what do you have to say about the rest of the field?
Yeah, so, I mean, JMU is interesting you say that. I think the AAC is going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be in the trenches, similar to World War I. Shout out to all the vets. You know, coming up November 11th when we record this is before Veterans Day, but shout out to all the veterans and why we have the little poppy seeds with us. But I do want to say this, that my 12 that I have going into this and this whole craziness, right, is I got Ohio State 1. Now, before Nick gets mad, I already told him I put Texas A&M 2, so he's not going to get mad. And the reason why I put Texas A&M 2 is because somebody's going to say that they should go up, and I think that's going to fire the biggest firecracker under Indiana. Like, if Indiana wasn't pissed to begin with from everything that's going on, right, and seeing, look at Nick, he's like, say it, Drew.
I'm fine. I'm fine. Go ahead, Drew.
He's been, we were making the jokes, oh, well, you know, they've been 19, 18, 16, 10, 8, and 2. But I just feel like something's going to weird happen, and that's my weird one for the week. Indiana 3, Alabama 4, Georgia 5, Ole Miss 6, Texas Tech 7, Oregon 8, Notre Dame 9, Georgia Tech 10, 11 BYU, and then number 12 JMU. So I'm probably going to go for 11 to 12, and they're going to keep Indiana there, and I'm happy. But as last year, too, as well, last week, I had Notre Dame out of the college football playoffs. So we're just like other podcasts. We got our dog showing love on our podcast. If you guys hear it, I don't know, I might edit out in our engineering.
Yeah, my dog is going a little ape right now. Bear, it's okay, bud. Yeah, so
if you guys are wondering on a Midwest Blitz, I was going to say, Big Nick usually walks them after the Midwest Blitz, so that's probably what he's letting us know. The ticker's going.
Yeah, he's letting me know it's time to wrap it up. So you got JMU at 12, meaning that they'll be the highest ranked group of 5 team right now.
Yes,
After Memphis got knocked off by Tulane, as we mentioned earlier in the show. And that's probably the end of the road for the Tigers because they got 2 losses in the American, but they could still end up in the conference title game. It's pretty wide open. It's going to be a fun last few weeks of the season here. I had so much fun Saturday watching so many meaningful games going on. Now, as far as your thought about A&M jumping Indiana, going from 3-2, I have 2 counters to that, and I am biased as an IU fan. But I look at Indiana going on the road against a talented Penn State team who has underperformed. But from what I've heard from the CFP committee, who are all football guys, basically, the one journalist on the committee who's not an AD, a former player or a former coach, has written history books about college football. And I feel like they have appreciation for the difficulty of going to play on the road at a stadium that seats 105,000 people that was very loud on Saturday. Whereas A&M went on the road at Missouri. I'm not saying it's easy to play at Missouri, but Missouri's starting quarterback was out. Had Bo Pribilla been playing, and I just butchered Pribilla's name, but had he been playing and A&M whooped Missouri's ass the way they did, I could totally see A&M jumping them. The other counter argument I have to them swapping places is that neither the AP has not been the kindest to Indiana this year at the start of the year. Neither the AP or the coaches poll had them switching spots, and I know that doesn't directly impact what the CFP committee is going to do, but considering that even the AP didn't penalize Indiana, I think they're probably going to stay put at number 2, at least for now.
And again, I'm a Midwest guy. This is a Big Ten, MAC, and Notre Dame Pro podcast, but I'm the worst case doomsday guy. I mean, Big Nick, you're on the opposite end of the week 1, and you said Notre Dame's in, and I said, no, they have 2 losses, and they were there. So again, it's similar to what the college football playoff is. We're not just going, Alabama 1, I guess we could put Texas A&M 2, Georgia 3, Ole Miss 4. We could put Missouri 6. That might be a little too high. Put Missouri 7. I guess we'll put Ohio State 5. And so forth and so forth, where they're just naming SEC teams. I mean, come on. This they got to do better in the AP, and I just feel like it's just funny. Like, I like the college football playoffs when they come out because you have a whole season in front of you, and after week 1 goes done, we know where everything stands, and we can kind of lock in from there. I've heard, I've heard this through different people and different colleagues. They're like, well, what about this game during this thing or this thing? I said, when week 1 came out, when week 1 came out for the college football playoffs, everything from before that was calculated, answered for, and said for in that first college football playoff ranking. So don't tell me what happened in week 3. That doesn't matter anymore. Because now you have week 1, now we're in week 2 in a whole nother college football year, basically, but we're running out of games because we have to calculate who's the top 12 teams from that. So that's why I just want to say, because a lot of people are like, well, if this team got injured. No, they don't care anymore. They already calculated all that, and they talked about it. And they had hours and hours of conversations, just like we're giving you better and better quality of analyzation because we watch so many games. That's what the college football playoffs people are going to do. They're going to be able to set up, and it's going to be way easier, way more calmer for most fans. The only other one I have to talk about is BYU having that 1 loss to Texas Tech on the road. But again, like Nick said, it's just 1 loss, and it was an 8-9 seed playing each other. The worst case is they go to 11, and they just hold the final spot because the G5 is going to be the 12 for sure.
I think the beauty of what they've done is, regardless of whether your team is barely on the outside or barely in, and barely in, I mean, if you're between, especially the 11 and 12 spots, because you're going to have a group of 5 team in there, and you're going to have an ACC team. Okay, something I was about to say, the ACC is not getting 2 teams in the way it looks right now. So I'll say that. So you're going to have 1 ACC team that gets in at the bottom of the bracket, some in a G5 team. So Texas and Oklahoma right now, even though they're 11 and 12 in the ranking, they're really not in, but they have a chance to play their way in. And some of these teams are going to lose their way out, and a couple other teams are going to win their way and climb the ladder in. So there's still a lot to happen at the bottom of that bracket. And Oregon still has a couple of challenging games, although they definitely just gained some favoritism with that road win at Iowa. And I appreciated that the head of the CFP committee said, we watched the games. And I think he was kind of taking a shot at the Associated Press when he said that, because the CFP's initial top 25 was significantly different. One of the things being that Iowa was ranked 20th when they hadn't been ranked all year in the AP poll. So I'm encouraged that they are doing their best, and we will get the best 12 teams within the criteria that they have put forth. But yeah, Texas, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, and Oregon, who are on the bottom line until the rankings come out on Tuesday, they all have a chance to stay in if they win out. And then BYU, like you just said, they're probably going to drop down. What'd you have them dropping down to 10 or 11? If
11.
BYU wins out and wins the conference tournament, they can still stay in. So they've put all the teams that have a potential deserving share of being in there. They're all in, or they're just on the outside looking in with a chance to climb the ladder. And I think that's the way they structured it. And if you look at the conference rankings, which we're not going to get, the conference records, which are important because that's going to determine who's getting into conference championship games, especially for those ACC teams and these group of 5 teams. I love the way they started it. Whether you thought your team should have been a spot or two higher or a spot or two lower, everybody in question has a chance to fight their way into it. And that's what makes it fun. It's not like the NCAA tournament last year where North Carolina had no business getting in, and the head of the NCAA tournament committee was from North Carolina and happened to get like an $800,000 bonus if they made it. And then so they let them in ahead of a couple other teams that should have made it ahead of them. I don't think this is going to be like that. I think that you're going to have to win your way in. I know that one of the admins from Michigan is on the committee. Well, if Michigan wins out and beats Ohio State, they have a very good argument to be in if they end with 2 losses in the Big Ten and take out the number 1 team in the country. Not saying that's going to happen, Buckeye fans, but if they did, they do deserve a spot at the table where someone could argue their case for them. So, yeah, it'll be fun to see what happens Tuesday. That's when we'll record our next show, or potentially a live after they announce the CFP ratings on Tuesday. Join us on a TikTok live for that. We did that last week. It was pretty fun, but what do you think, Coach Drew? I like where we're at right now with the rankings.
Yeah,
and all that.
I think everything's been answered for, and I just feel like, again, I think we've done a really good job of trying to identify these teams, and now, like, as I'm adding more red paint, I feel like I'm on Squid Games where I'm just like, player eliminated, which, if you guys don't know, we're working on a soundboard and all that fun stuff for next year, figuring that out so you guys can hear that.
Who else
Maybe
got
you'll hear that
eliminated? Who else got eliminated we didn't talk about? Louisville got beat this weekend, so they're pretty much done. We're forgetting.
Well, okay, we could talk about that. So the ACC conference basically beat themselves up to a pulp where now it's just going to be the ACC champion that comes out of it. It's not going to be multiple teams. Another team that we were really low on, but it's a G5, San Diego State lost to Hawaii, so they're eliminated. So there's like a lot of little ones. I mean, well, we talked about Navy being eliminated unless they win out, but I mean, the odds are really stacked against them.
I think Navy's toast. I have taken them off my big board, although mathematically they could somehow still end up in the American Conference Championship game. But I do think Navy's done. San Diego State, as you just said, they're done. Memphis is in a tough spot right now. Could still get there. I think we have a pretty clear picture, though, and I'll do my whiteboard tomorrow, Coach Drew, and we'll push that on YouTube and TikTok where you guys can see what I'm talking about as far as who still has a chance to win their conference, because the teams that are on the outside looking in, winning their conference is probably the best bet, except for maybe Michigan, who has a chance to beat Ohio State still. But that's all I got.
Yeah, it sounds like we're going to have to sign off. Did you make sure you got all your bedding for tonight and all those extra blankets and maybe a soup ready for the morning? Because it's going to be a chilly one, isn't it, in the Midwest?
I got some soup in the pantry. Yeah, we got a snowstorm, early snowstorm. Gotta love it. Got to love it. I'm on 3%, Coach Drew. I think we're going to end this Midwest goodbye.
All right, Coach Drew signing off. Laters.
Thanks for watching, guys.